The notion that science is satanic and deceiving faithful Christians is a perspective held by some individuals who believe that scientific discoveries and theories are in direct contradiction to their religious beliefs. This viewpoint often stems from a misunderstanding of the principles of science and the literal interpretation of biblical scriptures. Proponents of this idea argue that science is an attempt to undermine the authority of God in the Bible, and that its findings are intentionally distorted to lead people away from their faith. One of the primary concerns of those who believe science is satanic is the theory of evolution. They argue that the concept of evolution, which suggests that humans and other species evolved over time through natural selection, contradicts the biblical account of creation. According to the Bible, God created humans in his own image, and the idea of evolution is seen as a challenge to this notion. However, scientists propose that evolution is a natural process that can be observed and tested through empirical evidence, and that it does not necessarily negate the existence of a higher power. Another area of contention is the scientific method itself. Some argue that the scientific method, which relies on observation, experimentation, and evidence-based reasoning, is a flawed and biased approach to understanding the world. They claim that scientists are driven by a secular and materialistic worldview that dismisses the role of spirituality and faith. However, the scientific method is a systematic and rigorous approach to understanding the natural world, and its principles are designed to minimize bias and ensure that findings are based on empirical evidence. Furthermore, some people believe that science is attempting to replace God as the ultimate authority. They argue that scientists are trying to explain natural phenomena and the origins of the universe without referencing a divine power. However, science is not concerned with disproving or replacing God, but rather with understanding the natural world and the laws that govern it. The scientific community recognizes that there are many aspects of human experience that cannot be explained by empirical evidence alone, and that spirituality and faith play an important role in many people's lives. Additionally, some individuals point to the fact that some scientists have made statements that seem to disparage our mock religious beliefs. They argue that these statements demonstrate a deep-seated hostility towards Christianity and a desire to undermine its teachings. However, these statements are often taken out of context to represent the views of a small minority of scientists. The vast majority of scientists are respectful of religious beliefs and recognize the importance of spirituality in many people's lives. It is also important to note that science and Christianity are not mutually exclusive. Many scientists are also people of faith, and they see no conflict between their scientific work and their religious beliefs. In fact, some of the most significant scientific discoveries have been made by individuals who are motivated by their faith. For example, Isaac Newton, who is widely recognized as one of the most influential scientists in history, was a devout Christian who saw his scientific work as a way of understanding God's creation. In conclusion, the idea that science is satanic and deceiving faithful Christians is a misconception that arises from a misunderstanding of the principles of science and a literal interpretation of biblical scriptures. While there may be some areas of tension between science and Christianity, they are not inherently in conflict. Science is a systematic and rigorous approach to understanding the natural world, and its findings are based on empirical evidence. By recognizing the complementary nature of science and faith, we can work towards a deeper understanding of the world and our place in it, and foster a more nuanced and respectful dialogue between the scientific and religious communities.